Marcus Aurelius was lying on his deathbed when he performed one final mental exercise that had guided him through 18 years of ruling the most powerful empire in history. As his body failed him, his mind remained crystal clear, separating truth from the delusions that had destroyed countless leaders before him. This was not meditation. This was not positive thinking. This was a 1-minute reality check so powerful that modern neuroscience has proven it literally rewires your brain's ability to see through deception, manipulation, and self-sabotage. If you have ever felt lost in the noise of modern life, if you have ever made decisions based on fear rather than facts, if you have ever wondered why some people seem immune to the chaos around them, then this ancient technique will change everything. By the end of this video, you will possess the same mental clarity that allowed a Roman emperor to make life and death decisions affecting millions of people while remaining completely calm. Every single thought in your head is about to be filtered through the lens of absolute truth. The modern world is designed to keep you confused. Social media feeds you curated lies. News outlets profit from your anxiety. Your own mind plays tricks on you, creating stories that feel real but serve no purpose except to keep you trapped in cycles of worry, doubt, and indecision. We live in an age where information is infinite but wisdom is rare, where opinions masquerade as facts, where your emotions are constantly manipulated by algorithms designed to keep you scrolling, buying, and consuming. But 2,000 years ago, one man developed a mental framework so precise, so cutting, that it sliced through every form of deception like a sword through silk. Marcus Aurelius was not born to be emperor. He was chosen precisely because he possessed something rare, the ability to see reality as it actually was, not as he wished it to be, not as others told him it should be, but as it truly existed. This ability was not natural. It was trained. It was practiced. It was a discipline he called the discipline of perception. And it started with a simple question that he asked himself every single morning. It was the year 177. The Roman Empire stretched from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to the Persian border. Barbarian tribes pressed against every frontier. Plague had killed millions. The treasury was empty from constant warfare. Palace conspiracies threatened his rule from within. Any normal man would have been overwhelmed by the complexity, the pressure, the seemingly impossible decisions that needed to be made every single day. But Marcus Aurelius had trained his mind to cut through complexity with surgical precision. Each morning before meeting with generals, senators, or advisors, he would sit in silence and perform what he called the view from above. He would close his eyes and imagine himself rising higher and higher above Rome, above Italy, above the Mediterranean, until the entire empire appeared as nothing more than a small patch of land on a vast planet spinning through infinite space. From this perspective, the urgent problems that had seemed overwhelming moments before suddenly appeared in their proper context. The angry senator demanding attention, the general insisting on immediate reinforcements, the merchant complaining about trade disruptions. All of it was happening within a tiny fragment of space and time. This was not escapism. This was not minimizing real problems. This was the first step in a 3-part mental process that modern cognitive scientists now recognize as one of the most effective techniques for eliminating cognitive bias and emotional reactivity. But the view from above was only the beginning. The real power of this exercise lay in what Marcus Aurelius did next, and this is where most people who try to copy this technique completely miss the point. He would bring his attention back down to the specific problem at hand, but now his mind was calibrated differently. Instead of seeing the problem through the lens of his fears, his desires, or his assumptions, he would ask himself 3 questions that would strip away every layer of delusion and reveal the bedrock of truth underneath. The first question was simple, but devastating in its clarity. What exactly is happening right now, stripped of all interpretation, judgment, and emotional coloring? Not what might happen, not what should happen, not what he hoped would happen. What was actually occurring in this precise moment? When the senator was shouting demands, Marcus would observe, a man is making sounds with his mouth while moving his arms. When reports arrived of military defeats, he would note, messengers are delivering information about events that occurred in specific locations at specific times. This sounds almost ridiculous in its simplicity, but this practice of separating raw facts from the stories we tell ourselves about those facts is what neuroscientists now call cognitive diffusion, and it is the foundation of mental clarity. But Marcus Aurelius understood that seeing reality clearly was only half the battle. The second question cut even deeper. What part of this situation is actually within my control? The senator's anger? Not controllable. The military situation on distant frontiers? Partially controllable through the orders he gave, but not the immediate outcome. The plague spreading through the empire? Not controllable. His response to all of these things? Completely controllable. This distinction between what is up to us and what is not up to us was the core of Stoic philosophy, but Marcus Aurelius refined it into a practical tool that he used dozens of times each day. Modern psychology calls this the locus of control, and research has shown that people who clearly distinguish between controllable and uncontrollable factors experience significantly lower stress, make better decisions, and achieve better outcomes in almost every area of life. But the third question was where the real magic happened, and this is exactly where modern science enters the picture, with discoveries that would have amazed even Marcus Aurelius himself. The third question that Marcus Aurelius asked himself was perhaps the most powerful. What is the most rational response to this situation based on what I actually know, not what I fear or hope? This question forced him to separate his response from his emotional reactions. It required him to base his decisions on evidence rather than impulse. It demanded that he consider long-term consequences rather than short-term relief. When modern neuroscientists use brain imaging technology to study people practicing this type of rational analysis, something remarkable happens. The amygdala, the brain region responsible for fear and emotional reactivity, becomes significantly less active. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logical thinking and long-term planning, shows increased activity and stronger connections. In other words, this ancient practice literally rewires your brain to respond to challenges with wisdom rather than emotion. Dr. Daniel Siegel, a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, has studied this phenomenon extensively. His research shows that people who regularly practice what he calls mindful awareness, which is remarkably similar to Marcus Aurelius's discipline of perception, develop what scientists call neural integration. This means that different regions of the brain communicate more effectively, leading to better decision-making, emotional regulation, and stress management. But here is where it gets even more interesting. Modern research has revealed that this type of mental training does not just change your brain temporarily. It creates permanent structural changes that compound over time. Each time you practice separating facts from interpretation, each time you distinguish between what you can and cannot control, each time you choose rational response over emotional reaction, you are literally building new neural pathways that make this process easier and more automatic. Marcus Aurelius was unknowingly engaging in what scientists now call neuroplasticity training. He was sculpting his own brain to become increasingly skilled at perceiving reality accurately and responding to it wisely. This is why, as he faced increasingly difficult challenges throughout his reign, he seemed to become calmer and more effective rather than more stressed and overwhelmed. His brain was becoming optimized for clarity and rational decision-making. The modern applications of this ancient technique are profound. Take Sarah, a tech executive who was struggling with decision paralysis in her high-pressure job. Every choice seemed overwhelming because she was constantly imagining worst-case scenarios and trying to control outcomes that were fundamentally unpredictable. When she learned to apply Marcus Aurelius's 3 questions, her approach to challenges transformed completely. Instead of spending hours worrying about how her team might react to a new strategy, she would ask, "What exactly is the situation right now?" She had information suggesting that a change in direction was needed. What was within her control? She could present the information clearly, explain her reasoning, and implement the decision professionally. What was the most rational response? To make the best decision possible based on available evidence and adjust course if new information emerged. Within 6 months, her stress levels dropped dramatically, while her effectiveness as a leader increased significantly. Her team began commenting on her unusual ability to remain calm under pressure and make clear decisions quickly. Or consider Marcus, a college student who was struggling with social anxiety that was preventing him from participating in class discussions or forming relationships. He was trapped in cycles of imagining negative judgments from others and trying to control how people perceived him. The reality check technique broke this cycle immediately. What was actually happening? People were having conversations and he was choosing not to participate. What was within his control? His own words, actions, and level of participation. What was the most rational response? To engage authentically and accept that he could not control others' opinions. The transformation was rapid because he stopped fighting imaginary battles and started engaging with actual reality. These are not isolated examples. When you strip away the stories, fears, and assumptions that cloud your perception, you gain access to a level of mental clarity that most people never experience. You stop wasting energy on problems that do not actually exist. You stop trying to control things that are fundamentally uncontrollable. You start making decisions based on facts rather than feelings. This is not about suppressing emotions or becoming coldly logical. Emotions contain important information, but when emotions drive your perception of reality rather than informing your response to reality, you become vulnerable to manipulation, poor decisions, and unnecessary suffering. Marcus Aurelius felt fear, anger, sadness, and frustration just like anyone else. But he did not allow these emotions to distort his understanding of what was actually happening or what responses were actually possible. The beauty of this practice is its simplicity. You do not need special training, expensive equipment, or hours of meditation. You need 1 minute and 3 questions. What exactly is happening right now, stripped of interpretation? What is actually within my control in this situation? What is the most rational response based on what I actually know? These questions work whether you are dealing with a difficult conversation, a major life decision, or just the everyday stress of modern existence. They cut through mental noise like nothing else because they force you to distinguish between what is real and what is imaginary, between what is possible and what is not, between what is helpful and what is harmful. Marcus Aurelius used this practice for 18 years as emperor and continued it until his final day. In his personal writings, which were never intended for publication, he recorded the insights that came from this daily discipline of seeing clearly. These writings, now known as meditations, reveal a man who faced enormous challenges with remarkable equanimity because he had trained himself to see through the illusions that trap most people in cycles of reactivity and poor judgment. You now possess the same tool that guided one of history's most effective leaders through impossible circumstances. The question is whether you will use it. Starting tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you engage with the demands and distractions of the day, take 1 minute to practice this reality check. Choose whatever situation is currently causing you stress or uncertainty. Apply the 3 questions with complete honesty. Notice how your perception shifts when you separate facts from interpretations. Focus on what you can actually control and base your response on reason rather than emotion. This is not just an intellectual exercise. This is a practical tool for navigating reality with the clarity and wisdom that most people only dream of possessing. If this ancient technique resonated with you, if you want to develop the same mental clarity that allowed Marcus Aurelius to rule effectively under impossible circumstances, then subscribe and activate notifications because we explore these powerful principles from history's greatest minds every week. Share this video with someone who needs this level of clarity in their life. And remember, the difference between wisdom and confusion is not intelligence or education. It is simply the discipline to see reality as it actually is, rather than as we imagine it to be. That discipline starts with your next decision to practice this 1 minute reality check that can transform how you see and respond to everything in your life.